people think of AI as a technology issue. I think it's actually a people issue. The fundamental problem is that the pace of change that AI is bringing on is radically different than the pace of change that people can handle.
Everyone thinks AI is a tech problem. Jon Lam just got back from Harvard studying AI transformation. He told me the complete opposite. It's actually a people problem. He gave me this analogy that I can't stop thinking about. He said, think about Leonardo da Vinci's workshop. The master didn't paint every brushstroke, but he had apprentices who did the bulk of the work. The landscapes, the clothing, the easy stuff. The master came in for the hands, the faces, the parts that required real judgment. So AI is your apprentice, and if you keep expecting it to be the master, you're going to stay frustrated forever. So in this episode, Jon breaks down what he learned at Harvard about AI change management and how to actually get AI to produce results without losing your mind. So to set the scene, Jon, mind sharing with us what Calabra does, what is the ideal client, and what kind of challenges you guys solve?
Yeah, it's a little bit, we have kind of a bifurcation of what the client is and does and what we sell. But I'll give you two different things. One is the product that we just came out with last month. And so that is a website / CRM / AI productivity suite, if you will, for contractors and home service providers. So like appliance repair people, plumbers, roofers, things like that. So these guys aren't super great at technology, marketing. They also have a lot of administrative tasks that sometimes get left behind because they're so busy actually doing work, right? And so our system basically solves that for them, creates a really strong marketing funnel for when people hit the website. They can chat with an agent, which will collect their email, answer questions, qualify them as a customer. There are AI bots that respond to missed calls, and then also the post-job follow-up with getting Google reviews and getting referrals and that kind of thing.
And it's the biggest arbitrage that we have nowadays. I think tech is advancing so fast, and I was just talking about it in my previous call with my partner Shukri. It's the biggest arbitrage that we see nowadays because the older generation in the trades and legacy industries such as healthcare or construction or even military are kind of lagging behind in terms of tech adoption. I see, looking at your website, you use awesome tools like Make, Claude, Zapier, Airtable, Midjourney to do stuff like AI chat or phone bots, process automation, sales conversion, and social media. And there's so much that can be automated nowadays with AI that I think there's a lot of value to your agency. In terms of your agency, is it something that you started recently, or have you always been in the AI space? How did you get to creating Calabra? Maybe bring us back to like 10 or 20 years ago. What was that journey like?
Well, you don't have to go back that far, but because Calabra is only like a year old. But the reason why I started it was I was actually working as the CFO and CTO of a nonprofit lender here in Canada. And so I helped redesign the entire lending program, helped 8x the size of the organization. So the amount of loans that we did grew by 800% during my time there. And we were looking for ways to basically make the servicing of the loans, the collections, a lot more efficient. And so we started bringing in AI tools like automated email systems, automated voice systems to help our customer service staff become more efficient. And as part of that, I got sent to Harvard to do some training on AI change management. So that was more designed for like enterprise, big, huge corporations trying to do a AI transformation. But it was really great knowledge and understanding about what the different pieces are and what the process should be. And also a lot of the pitfalls, like people think of AI as a technology issue. I think it's actually a people issue. So the fundamental problem is that the pace of change that AI is bringing on is radically different than the pace of change that people can handle. And so at some point, this is going to collide. And if you don't manage that properly, and if you don't design systems properly, then it's going to be a disaster. So that's what kind of prompted me to get interested in AI. And then, look, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I had worked with this nonprofit for a good 7 years. We grew the business, like I said, by leaps and bounds. But I just had that entrepreneurial itch again. And, like yourself, I just saw like this is a huge opportunity. This is kind of another, I guess it can't be another once in a lifetime change, but it was almost like when the internet came or when smartphones came out, like it was that
The
level
dot
of,
com.
yeah, it was that level of shift. So, yeah, I just thought to jump back into the game and take advantage of it.
Absolutely. And something that you said there that really resonates with me, AI is not a tech issue, it's a people issue. And I completely agree with one of the sister companies of Content Stash being Caesar Health. We have a series of AI agents that we're bringing into the space of specialized clinics, doctors that run their own practices, healthcare systems, hospitals. And one of the agents that we have is an AI secretary that connects through voice. And very often we find that doctors are hesitating to bring on new tech, not because they don't believe in the tech. A lot of them are forward thinking and are innovators and early adopters. I think the challenge is getting the team's buy-in because they're afraid of the consequence of bringing that tech in because they fear that it's going to replace them. And we always try to get their buy-in early by communicating to them directly, like, hey, this in no way, shape, or form will replace you. It will make your life easier because a lot of the medical staff, they're underpaid and overworked, and we're there to take off the very manual, the very annoying things off their plate, like answering phones, answering emails, by pre-drafting and answering the calls and booking the appointments and reaching back out to the patient that may not always be in the best mood or in the best state of mind to be answering calls, or
Yeah.
they might even be in pain. So it's we're there to really help them, but because of the mindset around tech and the fears surrounding AI, it ends up bottlenecking the adoption in legacy industries.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's something that we run into constantly. Like, I think there's a term for this, but like people expect the AI to perform at the level of the best human on the best day. Whereas what they should be comparing it to is what actually happens. So, for example, like when they had the driverless car thing, right? People are expecting the driverless cars to perform better than the average human and probably in the top, 3 percentile of humans. Like it already drives better than humans, even though it does get in accidents and stuff. But people forget like people get in accidents too, you know? So like same thing with the customer service bots. It's like, yes, sometimes they make mistakes, but guess what? So does your customer service agent. Like everyone's had the experience of calling customer service and getting 5 different answers from 5 different people, right? And so, yeah, this idea that AI has to be like 100% perfect and this and that, I think it is a mental barrier. Like, let's be honest, people have to get, or us as the, you know, promoters of this tool need to communicate to them or educate them on why that shouldn't be the way that they look at it. But it's just a psychological quirk. Yeah.
Agreed. And managing expectations is a big part of it. As an example, I keep coming back to healthcare because it's the industry that we service the most with our software development studio, BitLab. It's like they would call up the demo line that we have running, and they're like, "Oh, it's not able to answer X, Y, and Z. It's not built for my specialty use case." And we're like, "No, it's a demo. Like the whole premise is that it's able to answer basic questions that are within the scope of the demo. It's not built out necessarily for your, let's say, cardiologic practice for specifically cardiology. Like it's not going to be able to answer questions around heart surgery and how long it takes and what's the recovery. Like you're asking too specific questions, and especially within the space of healthcare that's very regulated. There's only so much that you can say or share that isn't going to be considered medical advice. Like there is quite a bit of pre-programming and prepping and quality assurance, quality control involved with releasing a tool into the public that is around medical. In terms of your industries, which industries do you find yourself serving the most?
Yeah. So on the consulting side, I've been mostly in nonprofits because that's where I've been spending my last 10 years. So my network is all nonprofit organizations, and they also need a ton of help with technology. So they're super backwards when it comes to technology.
Mhm.
And so that's where our bigger consulting contracts come from. And then on the small kind of business side, the home service providers, right now we're focused on repair companies. So we've got a few repair companies and healthcare.
And what do you find that they ask for the most? Like what's been the biggest demand or the biggest bottleneck that they've been having?
Um, they have a really old website that hasn't been taken care of for like a decade. So, we offer them basically a free upgrade to a up-to-date SEO optimized site. Um, the chatbot, I think they find is cool. So right now their website doesn't do anything, right?
Mhm.
So it does a pretty crappy job of harvesting leads. It basically is a brochure that is, hopefully makes the customer call them. That's, typical process. And so having that lead capture, having something that the user can interact with on first visit, I think is a big selling feature. Similar to you, I have not found that people are super interested in the call text back or having an AI agent answer calls. So there's still a weirdness. I think that is every time I mention that, their eyes open wide, and it's like, yeah, because they know that they're following up with clients afterwards. Like everybody
Mhm.
knows that, but they don't do it because they don't have time. And so having an automated system that gets some Google reviews um, and then get some referral business, I think is a big selling feature.
In terms of your current client acquisition, like how do you typically approach clients, or do they approach you? Do you find yourself putting content out there and they come to you, or what's your mechanism of client acquisition?
Yeah, on the service provider side, we actually started doing cold calls like last week. So
Nice.
that's in progress right now. Still working out some kinks with the CRM and stuff like that. On the nonprofit side, again, it's been my personal network. I have tried putting out content. I'm, to be honest, not super consistent with it, and definitely not as consistent as I need to be. And so, yeah, I definitely want to grow that over the next quarter.
What is your vision for your content, and why would content be important for specifically your business?
I think it's less so for the home service provider side. They're not on LinkedIn, for example. Um, we are going to be running Instagram ads. They might be on things like Instagram. They probably use Facebook um, for their own client acquisition and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But they're not, I don't see them as huge content consumers per se. Um, it's more on the corporate side for the consulting business. I think establishing thought leadership in the AI space, as well as, yeah, just helping people understand that there's a problem that we can solve.
Mhm.
One thing that we're going to run with is the concept of AI confusion to clarity. I think a lot of people are still in that AI confusion space, partly because it's overwhelming. Like, things change every week. So there's no way a person that is casually observing AI as an industry can understand what's going on. And
Mhm.
so there's just an overwhelming amount of information. And so, yeah, one of the things that we want to do is come out with a campaign that is content around how do I go from AI confusion to clarity, understand why this is important, why it's happening right now, and then what am I supposed to be doing about it? I think that's what people really want to know, right? Like, what are the three things that my organization can actually do?
I love it. And it sounds like it would almost be a format around like educational shorts or educational videos explaining, hey, like you're probably having X, Y, and Z gap in how you currently use AI. Here are tools or ways you can apply it. And it sounds like it's just mainly aimed at providing value to potential buyers, your potential ideal customer profile on the corporate side of the business.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And any specific niche within the corporate side, or anyone with like over 100 employees could leverage existing AI tools that you guys built?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the enterprise side, they're gonna go to your Deloittes and PwCs and that kind of thing.
Mhm,
And so I think we are definitely gonna appeal more to smaller, small to mid-sized businesses,
mhm,
maybe 50 up to 50 employees, 100 employees, that kind of thing. Um, yeah, but even I've seen a lot of the executives, like my wife works for a big, huge company, and they're trying to adopt AI, and from what she's telling me, like it's not going very well because I don't think they understand how to use it, and there's a risk reward thing that's a little bit off. They're terrified of having data escape and that kind of stuff, which is valid.
mhm.
But then they've come out with a neutered version of AI, which is completely pointless. And so things like that, they're also seemingly putting in, governance processes that are going to take 3 years to make decisions when AI is moving like every single day.
Mhm.
So things like that, I think people aren't going to understand that the structure they're putting in place is not matching the technology, and it's going to cause a lot of problems. So coming out with content that addresses that so that people can understand, okay, understanding you have all these risk and governance requirements, what's a way that we can kind of have a little skunk works and play around with AI and actually get it to do something useful with us without breaking things or risking your data and that kind of stuff.
Mhm. And there have been plenty of reports in the past. I think I've even seen some with Deloitte of them leaking some big files, or leaking information, or signs of them using something like GPT, and feeding confidential data into LLMs for processing. And uh, I think that's resulted in some lawsuits or some returns on the money that was paid to Deloitte. And I think it's a balance of using AI for work and doing it in a diligent way where it's like, hey, if I'm generating a presentation, if I'm generating a proposal, if I'm putting in sensitive data, and I think this especially applies to healthcare, and it's been a big topic in healthcare, where how is patient information being processed? How is it being stored? Is it
Mhm.
being done in a HIPAA compliant way? How are these companies building their startups? Is it done in a safe enough manner where no private information is being leaked or played with? And so risk and governance, I think, is going to become, insecurity are going to become bigger and bigger topics as the barrier to entry drops for users to vibe code and prompt with LLMs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's where all those compliance frameworks are going to come in, right? So if you have to have SOC 2 or whatever, HIPAA compliance, like um, those will provide some measure of safety and security that like the proper processes are actually adhered to. Because yeah, you're right, it's going to be Wild West, but usually it's going to stay away from those kind of industries that have those, finance, healthcare, like they're going to be really sticky about security compliance.
And so for Collaborate, you want to do content, but how many content pieces have you done so far specifically for this brand?
I don't even have a count. We made an entire course.
Ooh.
It's just stuck inside of different software. So like I could totally just take those hours and hours and hours of content
Mhm.
and just release them. Um, you know, just kind of germane to what we were talking about. I have one part of a training where it was like um, we roll back in time. I'm explaining how AI works, and we go back in time to um, Leonardo da Vinci's workshop,
Mhm.
and basically talk about when all those masters, right? They all had a workshop, and that workshop was full of apprentices. And guess what? When they get a commission to do a piece of work, the apprentices are doing a lot of that work. The master comes in to review, right? And they do all the important bits. So famously for painters, it was like hands are really tough and faces are really tough. But the rest is kind of easy. The landscape, the clothing, like the broad strokes of the painting are easy, but the master's going to come in, put the final touches, and then put their name on it. And I feel like that's a good model for thinking about how AI is going to work, right? AI is the apprentice. They can do the core, the bulk of the work, but you as the master have to come in and use your judgment and apply the special sauce that only humans can do. And if you think about it in that way, you can stop being so pissed off when the apprentice fucks up, because guess what? Apprentices fuck up. Like that's just the nature of apprenticeship. And you as the master need to tell them and train them and teach them, right? And so, yeah, I think that that paradigm by itself helps a lot of people understand how am I supposed to be using AI, why not to get pissed off when it's not absolutely perfect, et cetera, et cetera.
I was just talking about it on a previous call. Context engineering is so important. It's something that AI needs. It needs that data, number one, and the derivative of that data being context prompting, context engineering for the AI to really refine the face and refine the hands. Even if we look at Photo AI or all these different tools that are producing uh, images, it's like they still struggle with the face. The face is the number one thing, and the face is the easiest thing to mess up. Where it's like it's almost there, but you can tell like something's off. It still looks
Yeah,
fake.
yeah. And I was just in Montreal, and there was a guy that his whole business is doing content automation, so auto generating social media posts for influencers and stuff like that. But what he was showing me was like it looks good.
Mhm.
It's definitely not. If you really nitpick and you know what you're looking for, yes, you could probably tell. Um,
But it's
but I
getting pretty
think
close at this point.
yeah, like we're way past the uncanny valley thing from like 5, 10 years ago. Like it's like you have to be really, almost forensic to tell the difference nowadays. And then the models keep getting better every day. So it's like what we say now is, it's going to be even better 30 days from now.
Absolutely. And my team recently got a hold of Higgsfield, and we've been having lots of
Yeah,
fun with it. It's been a great tool. Cling 2.6 and 3.0. 3.0 we still haven't given a shot yet, but just observing the results and all the videos that people are putting online. It and I was sharing this with my content team. We're about four people all together on the content marketing side. And I told them, hey, like it's going to be less and less editing, and it's just going to be more and more prompting. So just
yeah,
get used to prompting.
yeah.
And so you have hours and hours of this content sitting in a software. Why not release it? Why not? Is it an editing bottleneck? What's bottlenecking you from getting that education out there?
Yeah, I guess it would be editing. Um, if I want to do like wholesale 20-minute clips or whatever, that would be relatively easy. Um, but yeah, if I want to chop it up into shorter segments, then it's going to take a lot of time.
Mhm.
Yeah, to be honest, I hadn't even thought about it till, we were talking. So um, that's probably the main issue is that I never thought of doing it.
Mhm. And are those clips like still relevant for your ideal customer profile where if you were to put out the content out there, your ICP would be more educated and they would find value in it and it would be more trust being built in the process? Or would you say that those clips and that content is outdated or irrelevant based on what you're selling now?
Um, Again, that's part of the issue of being unfocused. So it's not going to help the whole contractor side. They don't give a shit about any of that stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, if we're gonna do more, high ticket contracts with corporations to do either training or automation design or implement AI digital transformation, yeah, 100%. Yeah, those people would find it useful for sure. As for is it outdated? So a lot of the technical stuff is. So for example, we were talking about like early days mid journey how to use it. I think Midjourney's been surpassed by a wide variety of different things. Um, and then the prompting stuff, I mean, I still use the prompting techniques. I think that the LLMs have gotten a lot better though at understanding what the user's trying to do. So you don't need to necessarily do a lot of the prompting techniques that we were advocating, but I don't think
Mhm.
that they hurt. It's still a good structured method to like tell it to act as a certain type of person, give it context for your problem, specify what you want the solution to come out as, like the format and stuff like that. Like those are good, just prompt hygiene, anyways.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I think the core thing is understanding what AI is, where it came from, why it all of a sudden became a huge thing when really they've been investing for decades in it. Um, I think that part is going to be evergreen and doesn't matter when it comes out.
And outside of that course that you filmed, what would you say is your biggest bottleneck when it comes to producing content consistently?
Time, yeah, time and editing.
Mhm.
So, you're in this business as well. Like filming content's relatively easy. Um, Editing the content can take 2, 3, 4x as much time as it took to film it. And so, yeah, for shorts, we have an editor and that's fine. But for longer pieces of content, it's like it takes hours and hours and hours to like even just watch through it, right? So, yeah, I would say it's time.
And I think having a competent editor is like a cheat code towards building a very, very good content pipeline. Something that has helped me massively was um, trying out different content editors through Upwork and eventually
Mhm.
finding one that so far it's been working out great for the past month. And outside of editing, and I myself being CMO of a software development studio, like I don't do the editing myself. We have 2, 3 editors on board. Um, I understand the tools of the trade and all the different tech we have to produce good content. So that includes B-roll platform like Artlist, Descript for the editing, Higgsfield, Opus, Adobe Premiere, DaVinci, and at Canva, and maybe at least like 3 or 4 other softwares. And I understand everything that they do. And my job is to cut that time for the editors. But ultimately, the thing that takes me the most amount of time and the thing that I still wouldn't give up, and I think it's something that you still got to have a hold of as someone leading content on the team, is the scripting and the research. And I would say that takes the largest amount of time from my end, which is why just today, I had the Mac Mini come in. And so I'm really excited
Yeah.
to see what I'm able to prompt with the magic of Claude and GPT and set up a workflow that would pump out at least the scripts for the content and eventually delegating the filming of it. And after the filming, it's the editing. And as your team gets better and better with editing, as these tools get better and better with editing, I think very soon, like I was trying this out with Higgsfield and I was getting very excited because I see the potential where it's like right now it's you give it the first clip and maybe the last clip and it fills in the gap in between,
Yeah.
very similar to like an animated film or an anime.
Mhm.
uh, I remember watching this one documentary. They essentially have the main designer or the guy that does the shots do the main shots of like a fight, and then they have the junior um, designers filling in the gap
Oh yeah.
in between. And so Higgsfield is essentially that thing that does the gap in between. So what would happen if we were to generate, 10 images and then fill in the gaps in between? Oh, well, that's no longer a 10-second segment. That's a 100-second segment. Okay, now we can make the whole movies out of this. Okay, cool. Now what if we gave it similar to not Hayreach? I'm blanking on the name, but if we were to give it a shot of ourselves and our pictures and it's able to replicate our voice through 11 labs and our pictures of our faces. Now I can do all the content of breaking cigars just by prompting.
Mhm.
And it's able to run the whole thing entirely, which creates a very scary scenario of like, all of this is just 100% AI generated. And if it can be AI generated, it's just it's not costing me any time outside of just QA QC. It's just costing me tokens, which means that the market is now flooded
Yeah.
with AI content.
Yeah. Yeah. And the big question is like, are people gonna, is YouTube gonna start banning that kind of stuff? I've seen those AI generated talking head type videos. Um, yeah. They
And
actually have.
we're still at the level where one can sense like, okay, the voice is off or the face is off if they pay attention. But the
Yeah.
funny thing is if there's something going on the actual screen and the talking head videos in the corner, you don't even pay attention to the head. You pay attention
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
what's happening in the video.
Exactly. Yeah.
And some companies are able to get away with it for now, but it's going to be very interesting which direction social media takes in order to combat that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's gonna be a wild time. The other thing is like whether everything's gonna end up just being labeled. That might be a solution as well. But um, at the end of the day, it's like a trade-off. If you can have unlimited content and not have to spend all that time, but each one is less effective because people know it's not a real person, like, I don't know, it's not necessarily a given that it's better to make human content but at a much slower pace. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
And with a lot of B2B consultants and agencies, they understand that like content's important, but it's always kind of left off as the last thing to do. And I think about our experience with BitLab. For the longest time, we only had my partner Shukri, who's the CEO and founder and head CTO of BitLab, producing the content because he was the guy with all the insights,
Hmm.
at least the technical insights. And so we would run a podcast of me just interviewing him. And then eventually I handed it over to Ben, who's uh, our growth lead at BitLab. And he would interview him because he has that background of running game shows. And for a while, it was just Shukri producing, but then realized like, hey, we can produce content as well, just based off the fact that we can do the scripting. And the research is done very quickly. So we can produce very quickly these educational shorts and we can just film ourselves talking about the topic and just get it approved by Shukri or just provide value across our brands by delegating as opposed to leaving it all on Shukri to be filmed. So in other words, we always had Shukri do the content, but it would continuously get delayed because it was one of those things you understand like, hey, content's important because it's like the real estate that sits there on the internet that over time gets views and generates clicks and hopefully people find it value, so it's trust building.
Hmm.
But it's tough to find the time for it. In your case, how important is content really for your business generation?
I mean, like I said, up till now it hasn't been because we haven't been consistent enough with it.
Mhm,
Um, but I think it could be and should be for sure.
mhm. And
Yeah.
editing, like if let's say you had an editor on either part-time or full-time, would that solve the bottleneck? Or is there something else within the mechanism that is preventing you from filming and scripting the content?
Yeah, I mean it's just working on other things. So um yeah, I mean scripting, I did play around with using the advanced voice mode in GPT.
Mhm,
I found that that's really helpful for bouncing ideas and then structuring them into more of like a hook, um, and then a body, and then a conclusion, that kind of thing,
mhm.
especially for shorts. So I have some custom GPTs that I've saved that are like specifically designed for YouTube Shorts, for example.
Mhm.
And so those are typically not too bad. And so you end up, let's say you're on a walk or you're driving around and you can have this conversation and come up with like 5 different short scripts in
Mhm.
one car ride, for example, right? Um, but for longer form content, yeah, I haven't done too much scripting and stuff like that. I would think that the research and the scripting might be a bottleneck for me right now. Like I would love to have ideas just come in the door.
Mhm.
Um, and one thing that I really wanted to build is literally like a little AI assistant that does that. It
Mhm.
just researches stuff. Hey, this is happening. That's cool. Here are 5 topics. Which one would you want to do? Oh, I like number
Mhm.
3. Okay, let me work on a draft script. And then it comes back with a draft script or 3 draft scripts and, we can workshop it, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, I would love for there to be that kind of AI assistant.
Do you have you ever worked on any kind of like content strategy, or has it been more so, oh, hey, I think this would be a cool piece of content. I think my audience or my ideal customer profile would find this valuable. I should probably do some content around it. Or has
Mhm.
there been a content strategy in place that you're like, hey, these are my competitors. These are the pains of my audience. I'm gonna do like I'm planning on doing like 5 of these shorts. Like, was there any kind of structure in place ever, or was it mostly figuring it out along the way of, hey, I just want to record videos on X topic?
Yeah, I mean, I have definitely prompted GPT to come up with content strategies like multiple times.
Mhm.
And then I never look at them again. So,
Mhm.
I'm just not following the content strategy. But
Do
I
you
think it's
find what it
definitely
gives
worth
is
doing.
valuable?
It's it's like it's good. I don't think it's terrible.
Mhm.
Um, is it the best thing ever? No, I think it needs a little bit of human intuition or whatever. Um, I think one comment that I've seen is basically AI creates the most likely answer, right?
Mhm.
Which is going to be centered around a mean. So by definition, what you're getting is average stuff.
Mhm.
But if you want exceptional things, then you have to put a little bit more effort. So yeah, I think it's good at getting average stuff. If you're really good at prompting, it can be a little bit above average, but it's always going to be up to the person to come up with something that's a little bit more unique.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. As to the content that I made, I mean, it was more of a logical process on what do people need to understand in order to become effective. Um, Also, how can we make AI less threatening and get over this AI resistance? So there's a lot of content around that. Um, and then, yeah, the tutorial stuff was pretty straightforward, right? Everybody needs to know how to prompt, what tools to use, that kind of thing.
Mhm. I found personally like uh in our case we use Claude, and we find Claude is Opus 4.5 is always more effective with a bit of context and data than GPT is. And I always produce scripts using Claude or research using Claude.
Oh, yeah.
But when I tell it on its own, just without any context, hey, produce a content strategy, unless I give it the frameworks, and we use a lot of Matt Gray's frameworks around content pillars, as well as like what does the content schedule look like? What's going to be in the short form, long form, medium form? How frequently are you posting? What are the content values, or what are the brand values? So a lot of it is also brand building and not just content, because in a sense you have to envision this brand, and from it spawns the type of content, um, versus just prompting it, hey, give me some content strategy.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's something that we're 100% including within content stash, and it's all going to start with content strategy. And the way we thought about content stash is, hey, like as a B2B consultant, one probably has 50, 100, 1,000 hours worth of video through a note take or Zoom recordings. And we want
Mhm.
to organize this information. We want to produce content out of what you already have. Because like you said, the biggest limitation is time. You don't want to be spending time on it. You know, it's one of those things that you got to do, but you always leave it last.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, we want to save people time and we want to produce content. Well, to produce the content, it needs context prompting. And that context prompting is at its most foundational level, the content strategy that you have of who are you servicing? What problem are you solving? What are your brand values? What are your content pillars? And from there, it's able to fill in the gap. Oh, and of course, competitor research of like who is producing what kind of content out there and what's the gap that you've identified that you can serve within the space of media.
Yeah, yeah. Because yeah, I think I was telling you before, like I'm sure you've gone through this, maybe not. Um, like you remember you talked about something in some video somewhere, and you're trying to find it.
Mhm.
Like number one, finding the video in the first place, and then finding the place in the video where you were talking about that specific thing is a freaking pain in the ass. Like you can be going through hours and hours and hours of video and like not finding it because you keep skipping or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, having that search function that you've been talking about is going to be a game changer.
Like even with Fathom, and Fathom's a great tool and it's free and it does a lot of things right, but just even finding specific content, finding things from the transcript, it kind of sucks at. And it's such a
Oh,
big
really?
shame. Yeah, like it really struggles. So unless you connect it to something like Google Drive and automatically upload transcripts and have it sitting in some Google Drive folder, it's tough to find information accurately. I find 50% of the time when I'm like, shit, like I've had something like a task that I had to come back to from 2, 3 weeks ago. Well,
Yeah,
me working online, I have on average maybe 5, 6 meetings a day. Like that's maybe 20 meetings ago that I had this one particular task come up
yeah,
with context. So now I got to find that call. And a lot of the calls don't have correct titles. And the transcript is like it's not picking up on it for whatever
yeah.
reason. And I'm sure there are better tools in Fathom as well. It just it works for our use case because of the way that we have our calendars set up and accounts set up. But it would be great to have it all centralized within one place and labeled, which is going to be part of our goal with Content Stash. In your case, like a which point, like what would have to happen for you to like double or triple down on content? What would push you over the edge to say like, shit, I really got to produce more content?
Obviously, if it was like bringing in business, the faster that that happens, then the
Mhm.
more excited I'm going to be about producing more and more content, right? Um, the problem though is, as you know, it's more of a slow burn type thing, right? You can put out hundreds of pieces of content that
Mhm.
nobody watches, and then but it keeps snowballing, and eventually it becomes something.
Yeah.
So I think it's just getting that mindset change in me. You know, I've made that mindset change in different areas, like working out. I've taken it from something that I hated doing to something that I can't live without.
Mhm.
Uh, but I just have to make that change mentally. Yeah.
And a part of
And
it, I
then,
think, is seeing results fast. Like if a
yeah.
video, if you were to post 5 videos and one of them went viral, you'd
Oh, yeah.
probably get hooked.
Yeah.
At least that's what happened with Breaking Cigars for me. I think it was like video 17
Yeah.
that took off and it was like 7.5 million views. And I was like, shit, like, okay, there's some potential. Like people are seeing value or something within the algorithm really picked it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think figuring out a way, like a conundrum that B2B consultants have is that not all content is aimed at virality. Like there's
Mhm.
content that can be aimed at the average viewer and using layman terms and using basic concepts. That's probably going to give virality and like a controversial contrarian take is probably going to produce more virality than something that is very niche specific, very industry focused that might have 100 views, but hey, if those one of those or 10 of those 100 views convert to dollars, And it's like you don't give a crap about virality because the focus of the content is bringing business in and lead generation. So it's two
Yeah.
very different focuses. So it either needs to produce dollars and needs to convert fast there, or it needs to produce virality. There needs to be some sort of a dopamine rush from the content to get a person hooked on producing more.
Yeah. And I think that might be part of my problem is the type of stuff that I'm an expert at and want to educate people on is not viral stuff at all, right?
Mhm.
So when you're talking about risk management frameworks for adopting AI, like that's boring as shit. So it's it's tough having this top of funnel stuff that is more general population stuff, right? But then funneling to like stuff that, for example, an executive trying to do digital transformation would care about. It's been something that I haven't really been able to kind of structure out because I don't imagine a lot of, you know, business execs are the ones driving viral YouTube videos, right?
And I'm just looking at your LinkedIn, like you do have pretty decent engagement, even with the content that you posted a year ago. Like 10, 13 likes on uh, an audience of roughly 2,000 on LinkedIn is not too bad. Like people are engaging. And I
Yeah.
guess it becomes a question of, do you have your ICP added on LinkedIn such that they can be a follower to be exposed to the kind of content that would convert them into leads?
Yeah, no. And my LinkedIn is a bit of a mess because we've gone through a bunch of different iterations, trying different markets and stuff. So
Mhm.
it's probably not even consistent with what the current value prop slash ICP is. So yeah, I definitely need to clean that up. And no, I'd love to talk to you more about how to do that kind of thing. Um, we do have a branding guideline slash document. Like it does go through our core values, um, what we're trying to achieve as a company. It also defines kind of a storytelling archetype,
Mhm.
right? So I think mine was kind of more as an adventurer. I'm not necessarily like the sage that knows everything. I didn't work at Google on AI systems and blah blah blah. I'm more discovering it along with you, and I might be two steps ahead of you type thing. So yeah, all of that stuff is structured out, and I like that, and definitely want to run with it. But no, plugging in that piece of like, okay, who is the main customer? What problems are they facing? And then yeah, I'd love to learn more about the content pillar thing. Um, I assume it's just buckets of content that address different either customer stages or different problem sets, um, and start punching content out.
Absolutely. I'm just trying to see if I can find a quick image here to show from Matt Gray. And Matt Gray stuff I actually stole from Shukri, my partner. He was, I think he had a course of his that he bought, and I haven't seen a better explanation of what content strategy should encompass. And I'm not really seeing any good Google images here. Like the framework that we have at BitLab. Let me actually take you through the components of the content strategy. And maybe this is a good piece of content for Content Stash, but like here's how we essentially approached content strategy for Content Stash. Like you can see here, we started with the core mission. Then it goes into the vision of what we want to become and who do we want to service, who's the target audience,
Mm.
the pain we solve. So a little bit of a definition as to who we're serving and what problem we're trying to solve. What's the high level goal? What are the three content pillars? The build journey, which is going to be 60% of the content. So what you said about not being kind of the sage, but more so an adventurer
Mhm.
of documenting things along the way. Myself being a little bit of a parachute founder, but having spent enough time in content to know what content is pretty solid versus what content is pretty crap. Like I'm just documenting that journey along the way. Pillar two, content strategy insights. What's working versus not working out there? What are the changes with the algorithm? What's the content trap problem that we're trying to solve for? Behind the scenes process. What are the brand values? Radical transparency, builder mindset, curiosity over authority, useful over viral, show, don't tell, content inspiration, people to study. And this is another piece of short series that we're producing around these people and just studying these people and being like, these are the things that they're good at. And
Yeah.
here's what's working for them. Here's like a little bit of their secret sauce. Main distribution channels. Where does our audience sit? Now, Claude identified that LinkedIn is the primary space, and it's true for B2B consultants, SaaS marketers, agencies that do content. However, I'm leaning more so towards Instagram and YouTube when it comes to content distribution. I don't see LinkedIn really popping off in terms of its content
Mhm.
or in terms of its distribution, even though I have, I think, 8 or 9,000 followers on LinkedIn. We'll see how well those posts perform versus something like Instagram.
Yeah.
But I'm just biased because I've seen more success with Instagram and YouTube over LinkedIn, despite knowing LinkedIn automation well.
And like LinkedIn, they were playing around with introducing video to like what happened with that? Did it just die?
With introducing video, I feel like they have shorts, and I haven't seen enough long form. So long form might have died.
Yeah.
The content themes, so the specific topics that we're going to cover, execution SOP, what's the weekly cadence like, which is different from what it is here. What are the tools we're going to use? Uh, Algorithm tips and key metrics to track. And this is how our content strategy is going to change pre-MVP of like the pre-launch of the product versus post-launch of the product.
Yeah.
That's our content strategy in short. And Shukri is creating and integrating that into Content Stash platform itself. And I think he's going to include a lot more. And I might at some point do a video demo of like, hey, this is what content strategy looks like when you just plug in your LinkedIn URL or YouTube channel and it maps it out for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a key thing I think is the competitor research, doing an internal audit versus an external audit of what content you're producing versus your peers in the space. What are they producing?
Oh, that's cool.
Tracking that, we're almost at time. Do you have an extra few minutes for a quick rapid fire round?
Yeah, sure.
What's the best piece of content you've ever seen from another founder?
Oh. I mean, I like Alex Hormozi stuff in
Mhm.
general. I mean, there's one video, I keep trying to find it. I should really just download it and keep it somewhere. But like, especially when he was first starting, it was very
Mhm.
like tactical information, how to do sales effectively. Um, so I love that kind of stuff. Also, lately I've been seeing he's has some kind of workshop that's going on, and it's basically answering questions of different founders that have different problems at different stages, that kind of thing. So yeah, I just find his stuff. It's very useful. It's smart. Is it drawing from the old school guys 100%? But like, who isn't, right? So
Mhm.
yeah,
Love it. No, I love Alex. I watch, I think, at least one Alex video a day, so I'm a big fan.
yeah.
What
I also like
AI
Gary
tool?
V.
Or sorry, go ahead.
Gary V. He's just, I don't know. He has a lot of energy. So
Yeah, yeah,
I like
I've listened to a
his
few of his
answers.
podcasts.
Yeah.
What AI tool do you use every single day outside of a large language model like ChatGPT?
I mean, lately I've been in Cursor, so that's a AI coding tool. Um, yeah, to be honest, like I think I told you, I started using this. Maybe you would call it a middleware, but this thing called CodeSpring that does the software documentation. So it takes your product idea and turns it into really specific PRDs or product requirement docs. And I think that's been a game changer for me. So when I feed that into Cursor, all of a sudden it's being way more productive than coding tools used to be for me, in terms of staying on focus, understanding what the task is, not over engineering things, and not running into errors because you have a mismatch between tech tools or whatever it is. So yeah, I've been using Cursor every day for the past little while.
How different is it from something like Claude Code?
To be honest, haven't used Claude Code. So yeah, I couldn't tell you. But Claude Code's not an actual development environment, is it?
I'm not sure. I haven't used it myself. I know that a lot of our team uses Cursor. I've just heard great things about Claude Code
Yeah.
and was just curious if you came across it.
No, so yeah, I haven't used it. So Cursor is like a IDE. It's a development environment, kind of like, VS Code or whatever that programmers would use.
Mhm.
And then I'm just prompting it, and it, creates whatever files it needs, then populates it with the code. It also helps with my biggest pet peeve is like setting up your environment was such a pain in the ass.
Mhm.
Like knowing which packages need to be installed, figuring out why it won't install. Like that used to take days and days of just troubleshooting. And now, this is doing it for me.
Mhm.
So yeah.
What's the biggest waste of money in your business so far? Or maybe biggest waste of resources or time?
In my business history or like right now?
Uh, it could be history.
One of the worst things when I first started out, this was decades ago, I paid a marketing company to come up with a marketing plan, and it cost me like $20,000. And they gave me this
Mhm.
big binder done by an MBA and blah, blah, blah. And it was not worth $20,000. And nowadays, I can go into ChatGPT and create that for nothing.
Yeah.
Like that exact thing you can do for 5 cents
And
now.
it's going to be better because it's going to have the memory and all
Yeah,
the history of
yeah,
you chatting with it. And
yeah. And you can tell it to act as like top tier marketer XYZ, Seth Godin, Rory Sutherland, and it's going to come out with ideas that have their kind of flavor,
Mhm.
which I really love as well. So yeah, that was a big waste of time. Other than that, I mean, it's going to be hiring the wrong people. Hiring the wrong people always sets you back.
100%.
It's terrible when you bring on a person that actually brings negative value to the company. That's, you know, never a fun thing. Um, But other than that, I mean, as of right now, I probably have way too many AI tools that I'm not even using. Um, so yeah, I need to do a little bit of cleanup there.
Yeah. People super, super important. We've had similar cases where it's like I would spend months training someone and it's just like, it's not going anywhere. And it's resources. And I would say even beyond the money, it's just time
Yeah,
to bring someone to the team, make sure they're a cultural fit, try to train them, fail. And it's like I can spend that time doing the task myself and get much further and conserve the energy and just put it towards the business sometimes. And I've had moments in my business where like firing people, like things got a lot easier after
yeah,
firing them. Even with high performers, sometimes it was just a cultural misfit or there was a bit of friction. And it's like, hey, we're actually faster letting go of this guy.
yeah, yeah. That's never a good thing.
No, no. And in your case, what would you say is the most underrated marketing channel right now?
I don't know. That's tough to say. I mean, from my own perspective, like I'm trying to figure out how TikTok can be useful.
Mhm.
I know it is for a lot of different things, but like B2B, I think is a little bit less so, is my
Mhm.
assumption, anyways. So it might be kind of forgotten about. Um, but I'm kind of amazed at the people that I talk to that are addicted to TikTok that I never thought would be. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I think it is kind of people are just assuming that it's not that business people aren't on there, but I'm finding executives are on there, like everybody's
seems to be addicted to it. I don't watch it at all, so I don't know too much about it. But yeah, I think people might be sleeping on that for B2B.
Yeah, and I've stayed away from TikTok because I know like the algorithm, when the algorithm has you by the balls, you're just cooked.
Yeah,
And like Instagram has been really bad for me because it's like, especially for producing content every day. And in our case, we're producing about like five like original short form videos a day across all the different channels. And it's just like interacting with the comments, interacting with the audience, keeping tabs with the comments, the engagement. It kind of sucks you in. And
oh
I'm
yeah,
not a fan because it's like I wake up and instantly just open up Instagram, see what the engagement's like. I'm still in my bed,
yeah.
and it's not a good habit to have. And I imagine TikTok, from everything I've heard and seen, it seems to be even more addictive.
Right. Yeah, that might be one thing preventing me from going down that route too, is because I know it's going to be just such a huge time suck. Yeah, it's not even just like you said, producing the content's one thing, but like dealing with the people afterwards is a whole other kettle of fish.
I know you spent quite a bit of time within the game space. What would you say has been the best business lesson from the game studio days?
When I first started in the game business, everybody had a similar comment. Like everybody's making a game.
Mhm.
What you need to ask people is whether they've shipped a game. So the number of people that start a project and twiddle with it for like years and years and years and it never actually comes out, there's a whole bunch of those. And so my lesson was always a bias towards action and a bias towards release and not trying to fiddle with things until they're perfect because they're never going to be perfect. Um, and I think that lesson kind of, it's a good skill to have, especially now when the pace of change is even faster. You
Mhm.
have to release even faster and just understand that you're kind of in permanent beta. Things are always going to be in a state of brokenness. You're going to be releasing things like constantly. Um, so yeah, that combined with, okay, then how do you manage a team to push them towards shipping a product? Because each of the components, like artists, for example, are notorious for, if you give them a week to do something, they'll take 2 weeks. If you give them 2 days to do something, they'll take four. But like managing that perfectionist mentality to get things done
Mhm.
um, was a huge learning that it took years to kind of earn. The other was just simply watching people do stuff. So we would have testing platforms where we release the game and then people would record themselves interacting with it. And so I'd watch hours and hours of these videos of people like, it was super funny. We had one lady, she was playing our game for like a solid 20 minutes. It was like
Mhm.
a solitaire variant, the card solitaire.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She was playing it for 20 minutes perfectly fine. And then all of a sudden she didn't understand how to play the game. And she got super frustrated. And I'm like, dude, you've been playing it for 20 minutes. What do you mean you don't know what's happening? Um, but stuff like that, I think it's opened up my eyes to like how carefully you have to design different things
Mhm.
and gave me a good sensitivity for user experience design overall.
So the speed with which you have to move in order to produce and push out updates coupled with user experience.
Mhm.
And I'm super curious. This just popped into my head as you were describing, and I feel like the space has changed so much around software and gaming. But it's like one game that is warm that I keep close to my heart is Dwarf Fortress because it's been like around for so long, and I always struggled playing it. But just the depth of that game, coupled with the fact that it's like quarter of a century in development,
Yeah,
it's just a really fun indie game. And with the depth of the characters and the lore that you could produce from such a visually unesthetic game,
yeah. I've never
I
played it.
find something very attractive about it.
Yeah. What's it called?
Dwarf Fortress. It's like an ASCII style game where it's like there's zero visuals,
Oh yeah.
and it's like you're figuring stuff out between all the different characters on your screen. There's different DLCs that you can add on. Super
Yeah.
nerdy game, but it's like it goes into very deep lore. Um, and I'll talk to you offline about it because it's super cool. But is there any game that you keep close to your heart? Maybe it's a game that you've produced or a game that you had something to do with.
I mean, the our first title that kind of hit it big was called Curse of the Pharaoh, and so I still have like, there was some company in Germany that actually made like boxed, physical product for
Mhm.
us. So I have some of those in my office. So that one's near and dear because that's how we got started. Um, as for playing, I mean, 007 GoldenEye still has
Old school.
yeah, I still love that game. Looking forward, I think the new one's gonna come out. I don't know if it came out already. It might have. But definitely looking forward to that. And then a weird one that just popped up was it was called Drug Wars.
Mhm.
So back in the old day, like pre-internet, there were these things called BBSs. You'd basically like dial in with your modem to somebody's computer somewhere, and then you could like play a game with the other people that are connected to that. And it was totally text-based, right? And you would basically go to this city, you could buy drugs for X price, and then you would have to find another city where you could sell them for more and blah, 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 that kind of thing. And the reason why that popped up again was I've been playing around with this mesh radio network thing, where you have this, it's called a LoRa radio. Um, and you can connect to different people in the city, and people have set up servers. And guess what? When I connect to somebody's server, they have Drug Wars as a game. So I thought that was kind of funny, a funny throwback to like 30 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, I remember these text-based games as well that are like from the 2000s. My dad had one of the first computer shops in Moldova, and so I always grew up with computers.
Oh yeah,
In the early 2000s, we always had a computer in the household, and he would have all sorts of games, and I would love watching like Age of Empires,
yeah,
and I think there's a few others, and then there was like the very early like kids for games for kids, like Nemo, and based off of Pixar and Disney, and it's just it's so nostalgic. Shrek 2, like just on the PC.
yeah, yeah.
There's
And
something very
StarCraft.
nostalgic about it. Yeah, StarCraft as well.
Yeah, that ate up a good number of years of my life. StarCraft.
Last question. If Calabra wasn't a thing, if it didn't exist, what would you be building?
I don't know. I mean, I've been playing around with this. Like I told you, I've been vibe coding some different pieces of software.
Mhm.
Um, I really want to build a game myself. Um, I don't think we're, I don't know. There are a lot of different small hurdles to get there, but I think it's gonna be a possibility in the next 6 to 12 months for sure.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I'd be building a video game. I just love that creative process. I loved seeing people interact with it and have fun.
I can tell you're a very creative guy. Like even just looking at your background and what you're wearing, like I love the kind of the collar. It's almost like a collared suit, but it has a hoodie to it and the
Yeah,
flat cap and then the background design. You have a very creative side to you that you really want to tap into and explore.
yeah, definitely. And it's kind of like, we both have that entrepreneurial bug, right? It's like an itch that never goes away, you know? Like I find I have a million ideas like a day. Um, and I find it interesting. Sometimes people ask like, how do you come up with ideas? I'm like, I don't know. They just come into my head like
Mhm.
constantly. My problem isn't how do I come up with ideas? My problem is how do I stop coming up with ideas and focus on one? Yeah.
Yeah, my partner has a similar challenge. And sometimes like I tend to completely derail him just by mentioning a topic and he just goes down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But a part of it is his ADHD and he loves, I would say that it's a superpower in his case, because he's able to go really, really in depth. And sometimes it's an idea around a new software that he ends up chasing for a few days or a few weeks. Or if he doesn't stop chasing, then it turns into an actual product. If people were to try to find you, where can they find you?
God, I mean, Calabra.ai is where all the corporate stuff is, so including the social media. On Instagram, I think I'm the real Jon Lam. I think that's my name on there. Um, yeah, that's where I'll be.
Awesome. Anything else to add before we end it?
No, just that this is an exciting time. I think content is definitely one of the main productivity advancements that AI is kind of producing. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about Content Stash and what you're going to do with that, because it does solve a number of key problems that I have with respect to content production, for sure.
Absolutely. And it's thanks to people like you that we can kind of over either podcasts or interviews such as these, like we're able to figure out, hey, like these are the bottlenecks. This is what the people want. Let's refine and improve our product in a certain way, because the product is going to change a million times over as you build it, because people are going to say, okay, this sucks, or it's missing X, or it might change its goal entirely depending on the market.
Yeah. And one question I have for you, just looking at your content strategy doc, like I know with we were talking about the Claude bot stuff and things like that.
Mhm.
Like in my head, what I would love to do is, so pre-AI, right? You have this
Mhm.
content strategy, you would hire a person, and that person would be responsible for executing that content strategy, right?
Mhm.
And they would come and do the research and do the filtering and blah, 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 write the piece, and maybe give you a draft to review and add tweaks and whatever, right?
Mhm.
How far do you think we are from like, okay, here's an agent that fills that person's role? Like you just give it the content strategy, you're just like run with it. You just tell me when you're done making the content, and then I can approve it. Like, do you think, I feel like technically that's probably already possible, but like, do you think that's going to become the norm in the next few months, or where do you think that's at?
And that's exactly what I'm going to test with the Mac Mini in the other room.
Yeah.
I'm going to have it do the initial stages of that process, because there is stuff that you can offload onto it right now, but then there is stuff such as filming that it's going to struggle with, or it requires too many credits to do. So I think we're very close. I think in a year, the space is actually going to change entirely. And the only thing that is going to protect you is your competitive moat, which is the data and context prompting and human discernment and experience that
Yeah.
is hard to translate into an AI, but it's going to become more and more competitive because guys like Alex Hormozi, their data sets are going to exist within the cloud. And
Mhm.
so it's for the average Joe, it's not looking good. Many people are going to have to choose a different kind of job or get really good in order to compete with AI. But to answer your question, I think we're super close. And it's kind of kept me up at night these past few nights where I was just thinking about, like, man, we're so close to just me doing a few prompts and it's just going to produce those videos. And it's like 3/4 of the team's gone.
Yeah.
It's a pretty crazy reality that we live in, but we're getting closer and closer and closer.
Yeah. And with me with LinkedIn, like, do you do a lot of just written content? I
We
feel
do a
like
bit
it
of
could
written.
be done.
Like I don't do, like, as of right now, I haven't posted a post on LinkedIn in like a year. But very soon, with the launch of this podcast and the whole strategy for Content Stash, like I think this is technically the first or the second podcast that we're doing for Content Stash and my personal socials. So I'm gonna also take insights from this podcast and I'm gonna turn them into a major part of content stash is repurposing. And a major part of our content strategy is we go and all these podcasts that, let's say, Shukri has done, we've taken them and we've repurposed them into written posts on LinkedIn to the point where we get a few book calls a week from either investors or people interested in our custom software development for the space of health tech. Because Shukri's popping off on people's feed, for whatever reason, they just end up booking. And I ask them like, hey, like, where'd you come from? I know they came from LinkedIn. They're like, man, I've just seen you somewhere.
Yeah.
I've seen you. I don't remember where, but it's like, I've seen you somewhere. I think it was something you posted. And I'm like, okay, like that guy does health tech, med tech build outs. They help health tech, med tech startups.
Yeah.
And it's just like when they see the guy enough times, and with us, it's like we post every day. On Shukri's profile, we post every day. Like we have maybe like 30 different profiles connected on Vista Social, which is our scheduler. And very soon I'm going to start posting on my socials as well. But just repurposing what we talked about in this podcast into written posts, I think is another freebie.
Right. Cool, man.
John, it's been a pleasure. I loved shooting this episode with you, and we gotta do one over cigars as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we can have a little competition and see who can build a Claude bot that does our social for us faster.
Oh, hell yeah. Would love to.